Thank you for joining me for part 3 of our stress management series. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. We are going to look today specifically at stress management on the farm and ranch. Information for today's presentation is coming from our friends at North Dakota State University and their Cooperative Extension Service. So in parts 1 and 2, we specifically looked at what stress is, what type of a response it causes, and then we looked at some just general overarching ways that maybe we can manage and cope with our stress. So now we're going to talk about some specific stresses related to specific times in your life or jobs. So this time we're looking at our ag-related stress. So working in agriculture is accompanied by managing a variety of stressors on a regular basis. I mean, it's a constant thing. So learning to control events, attitudes, and responses day in and day out is what's going to help us manage those hectic, stressful times. So being able to learn to manage stress well during those peak times on your farm or your ranch that are extremely stressful, like planting and harvesting, can be branding, roundup, all of those things that require a lot of people, a lot of work, not a lot of sleep, and those short amount of time when you've got to get a lot done. And it's going to take some discipline and daily practice to be able to manage that stress. So, as we mentioned before, controlling those events, the attitudes, and the responses is how we're going to deal with that. So, we're going to look at some techniques in each of these areas that can help those farm and ranch families. You can adopt these practices and get a sense of control over what's going on around you and help improve your stress management efforts, particularly while working on the farm or ranch. So we're going to look specifically at things around events, things around our attitudes, and then how we respond. Now, we all know there's a lot of events that are just flat outside of our control. So we can't always control, but there's some things related to the events that we're dealing with that we can very specifically plan for. When we experience too many busy or challenging events at one time, it's when we start to feel stress. So to reduce the pileup of too many stressful events at one time, we're going to think about how we might control those situations with our farm and ranch work efforts. So some ideas, things that we can use. Number one, plan ahead. We're not going to procrastinate. We know these things happen every year at a certain time. And while we can't always control exactly when that lamb or that heifer is going to give birth, we can think about, we know to plan around this timing because there's a general window in there. And if we know, hey, we don't need to use this machinery or this equipment at this time of year, that's when we're going to check it and make sure it's working so that when it's time to use it during the season, we don't have that added stressor of things not working. So before the harvest season, we're going to talk about who can be available to go for parts to take care of the livestock, who's going to handle other needed tasks. Sometimes it's as small as making sure there's food, who's going to make sure we have groceries to eat while all of these things are going on. Set some priorities about what has to be done on any given day, what can wait till the next day, and then plan your time each week. Now, again, we know there's some things we just can't plan for. But if we have a plan, we have some priorities set, and then we need to adjust based on something unforeseen, we can do that more effectively. Say no to those extra commitments that you just don't have time to do, which can be very rough. In our ag communities, we all want to work together, we want to help each other, but sometimes we're just not in the position to help. And in order to keep our mental health, to keep our stress managed and be effective on our farm or ranch, we have to say no to some of those extra things. And then sometimes we may just need to simplify our life, reduce our financial dependence on other people, figure out, hey, what do we need to pay off? What can we work toward? These are not new things. These are the things that you are all doing all of the time. I understand that. A lot of what we do when we talk about this type of programming and just managing our stressors is having that refresher, that little reminder that, oh yeah, I need to take care of that. Because as we become overwhelmed and there's so many things going on, typically the first thing that goes is our self-care and being able to manage our stress. Okay, so then if you do have those stressful events that are within your control, try to schedule those appropriately, such as if you know you're going to have surgery, some type of an elective surgery, schedule that not on top of your branding season or when it's time for harvest. So just having a plan and being organized and setting your priorities, and it's going to make you better able to deal with whatever stressors arise. So, along with that, because we know we can't control all the events and everything that happens, how we view and think about those events and those situations is a key part of managing the stress. So, we're going to talk about how do we control our attitude related to everything that is going on. So, first of all, we kind of need to focus on seeing the big picture. Um, I'm glad that the tire blew out here rather than on that next hill when it would have been harder to fix or a bigger problem. Not because we're happy that the tire blew, but we need to find that positive piece that's to kind of help us reframe it, put that priority in place, and move on to the next thing. All the stresses that you now have, put them on a list. Identify what can I change? What are the things I really can control and work toward? And then what are the ones that I can't? And how do I need to view or look at those so that I can be more accepting of it? So that I'm not constantly getting that overactive, stressful response. And that means we have to shift our mental and our emotional focus. We are tied to our farms and ranches. If you are in agriculture, you know that wholeheartedly. This is your life's blood and what you do. And it's important to us. And mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that is tied up into the ag community and what we do as farmers and ranchers. But we still may have to slow down, limit some of our worrying and about some of those stresses in order to maintain our own mental health. And so maybe we need to focus our attention on problem solving instead of getting mired down in what's going on. Okay, what's the next step? How do we address this? Most of us do this, particularly in agriculture. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived. The reason we have agriculture and it's able to support the rest of the world is because we are problem solvers. But it's also really easy to get mired down in everything that is happening and again, miss that bigger picture of where we are. So think about how to turn whatever those challenges are into opportunities. And you can learn from the example of others. How are your neighbors dealing with these things? How are they doing something in North Dakota that might work in New Mexico? And remember what you have accomplished. It is so easy when there's a lot of stress, a lot of challenges going on to just get mired down in the oh, poor me, when really our ag producers accomplish great things. And so think about what are those accomplishments that we've had in the last year, in the last 5 years, in the last 100 years, and put some focus into that. And then set some realistic goals and expectations for yourself, for your family, for your farm workers and your ag workers that are coming in, because none of us can be perfect. We want it to be perfect, and we know some of us been doing this a really long time, but we still can't always have it be perfect because there are those outliers and those things out of our control. So when we talk about managing our stress so that we don't build up and have these other health repercussions like we've talked about, setting some realistic goals is going to be really important to that. And then finally, because we can't always control our events and we know we can't control sometimes even others' attitudes, which can be very frustrating, ultimately controlling our response to those situations is what's going to make us effective stress managers. So you're going to see some things that we talked about in the last part of this series that are just the general, hey, this is what people need to do to effectively manage their stress. So the first one, focus on relaxing your body and mind, whether it's walking or driving, doing some other activity, but taking that time to kind of slow down and relax and not have it always be, oh, we're doing this and we have to do it right now and we're going to do this for the next 24 hours. But just sometimes it's even just 5 minutes to take that walk. Take care of your body. We talked about this. Exercise regularly, eat well-balanced meals, and limit your intake. I hate to say this, coffee, soda, tea, all of those stimulants with the caffeine in them. We've kind of trained ourselves that that's what we need to do in order to deal with stressful situations, but it's just not good for our physical health which then can affect how we are able to respond in a stressful situation. Avoid cigarettes, alcohol, other drugs. Uh, it's not good if we're having to take sleeping pills to be able to sleep and then take some type of a stimulant to be able to wake up. So, if we can avoid those things, and maybe it takes a conversation with the doctor to get prepared for that, but just to keep our bodies regulated better is a key part, again, of managing our stress. Take a stress break regularly. Climb down from the tractor, do some stretches, whatever your favorite exercise is, run with the dog, whatever that needs to look like for you. Take 3 deep breaths, and this is slowly, easily. This is going to help release some of that unnecessary stress. It's going to help relax our muscles. One of the things when we get overstressed and we tense our muscles, we kind of forget to breathe. Well, now our body's not getting enough oxygen. So stopping for just a minute and taking those breaths can be a huge help. Think some positive thoughts. I can and will succeed. I'm going to get this done. Whatever that looks like and sounds like for you. Find the humor in the things that you do. This is big for all of our responses. Y'all, stuff isn't always funny, but sometimes the way we tell the story or the way we react to that can have that humorous note to it. So think about those things. Balance your workday and your play and do both well. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to every day, oh, I worked 8 hours, now I get to play for 8 hours. It's going to mean that over time, you balance these things out so that it's not the constant running from one thing to the next with no break in between. And then find somebody you can talk to, whether it's a family member or, again, that neighbor who's in kind of the same boat. Someone that you can talk to about your worries and your frustrations, and being able to share your point of view in what's going on can be a tremendous piece in understanding how we are dealing with our stress and what we can change to deal with it more effectively. Again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. This has been part 3 of our stress management series, looking at dealing with stress on the farm and ranch. Hopefully you've been able to identify some coping mechanisms that can help you on your farm or ranch. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit about those family caregivers and how they might effectively manage their stress.